What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7 recap and review. Now, as you know, Dom and I have usually been doing this, but I had to get a guest on. So, Ken, welcome. Ken is actually from the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast. It's a very mouth-worthy podcast name. But, Ken, would you like to describe how that came about and just kind of tell us a bit about yourself?
Absolutely. What is going on, ECA Nation? My name is Ken M. I'm the host of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. Avid S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, avid Marvel fan. If you listen to the episode, we talk a parlay of topics each week, from sports, music, movies, TV, comics, pro wrestling, you name it, we're probably talking about it. And how we got the name of this, actually, way back when, we've been doing this now for 3 years. And when we started out doing the podcast, my dad was an actually avid big supporter of the show. And unfortunately, during the time that we were getting the process of making this whole thing happen, unfortunately got diagnosed with cancer and ultimately lost his battle to it. But he was always just a high energy, just outgoing guy. And we always would go to Las Vegas. He's always had just an affinity for there. And he was always a very good craps player if you ever shoot dice. And if you go to Old Vegas, when you try throwing the hard ways, he was always good at throwing a hard 8. So that's a 4-4 in the dice. And if you go to some of the older casinos in Las Vegas, they called it an Ocho Duro. So when it came time to plan the podcast and make it happen, it just got kind of brought up in the name. And when I was talking over with Pat, and if you really listen to older episodes, Sound Guy Galore JR and Freddie Theodore from Thirsty Threads Inc., who actually makes the t-shirts for us, and everybody said, yeah, we got to do it. And it ultimately involved into the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, and I know it's a mouthful to say, so that's why we just decided to shorten up and call it the ODPH podcast.
Well, there we go. That's really cool, man. And I actually didn't notice the shirt. Go ahead and
yeah.
That's really cool. That is really cool, man. We've been trying to get merch out and everything. So maybe one day we'll get one out. Maybe. Who knows?
Definitely let me know. I definitely want to pick one up.
Absolutely. But we are here to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, I've got to ask before we get into this episode, what are your thoughts right now? We are about to talk about episodes 7 and 8. So what are your overall thoughts on the final season so far?
So far, it's been a slow build. The time travel aspect is really interesting to me, because if you look at the lineage of S.H.I.E.L.D., from where it started, and season 1, obviously mixed feelings. For me, I always tell people, if you're going to start Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just start at the Captain America 2 episode. Don't worry about the previous ones, because it's a lot of like cookie cutter, like, hey, did you know we're in the Avengers? Hey, you know about the incident? And then that's when it finally takes off. Season 2 definitely kind of had some growth, definitely started dealing with more of the Inhumans, whether you love them or hate them. Season 3, Secret Warriors adaptation. But then season 4 is where it really took off. And I think that's where they really hit their pinnacle stride. Season 5 is a good one. And when they thought they were ending, had one of the best series finales ever.
Right.
Season 6 really got a little crazy with the whole, is it Coulson, is it not? We're dealing with the Shrike. We're dealing with the monoliths, X, Y, and Z equals A. Like, it's just like a lot of stuff thrown together. So when we finally got to season 7 and they decided to go back in time where the cliffhanger was for their season finale, I was like, okay, what are we doing? And right now it's been fun, because they're really taking moments of the Marvel history and really running with it and developing them, such as if the previous episodes where they've gone to the beginning of Hydra, and then Project Insight, which has now been messed up from the entire timeline, because as we know from being comic fans, the minute you jump back in time and do one little thing wrong, everything is set.
Yep.
Completely off. And here we are. So as it's gone into right now, I really like how it's picked up steam lately, because S.H.I.E.L.D. is typically like that. It has a slow build, but being a shorter season, they really got to catch up some ground. So I've loved the stuff they've done with Agent Souza joining the team. And where they are to right now, as we're going to discuss, I thought they really hit their strides right now.
Absolutely. So we are going to, like I mentioned, jump into episode 7. Which is, I love the title, by the way, the Total Excellent Adventures of Mac and D, or and the D. It's very, I don't know, man. I had to like I was backing my DVR. I kept on backing it up just to see the opening scene of them kind of like, you know, they would grab their like handshake, and then the camera would zoom in on the handshake, and like it was just, you know, the opening of the show was very very well put together. But as we know, the Zephyr has jumped another, into another time stream, I guess, and Mac and Deke are left on, I believe it's in 1982. 82. Yes, in 1982. So Mac and Deke are left in the 80s, and basically they are talking about, what's going on in their lives. Mac is very distraught about the fact that he had to witness his parents, a visual witness of his parents. They're not actually his parents, as we discussed last time. They're Chronicoms, but he had to witness them die or know in his mind that they were actually dead. So he's kind of gone into a slump, a depression, and Deke was like, yo, I lost my parents when I was younger. It's going to be okay. You've got to pick yourself up. And then that's when Mac kind of went off on Deke for, not doing what he said. And because, as we mentioned in last episode, Deke was supposed to bring in Malik to be questioned. But Deke grew some balls and he shot him, essentially. I mean,
Deke has been all over the place this season. And I'm like, I almost wonder if he's the real villain this year, because everything he's done, he's wound up like altering the timeline completely.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's funny too, because I was telling Dom this, like, his story arc is so weird, because like I always forget that he is Fitz and Simmons' grandchild. And so, like, when they're in the Zephyr together, and there's multiple times where they're, the banter between each other, and he's like, "Hey, Nana," and I'm like, "Whoa!" Like, that's so so weird to hear him say that. But basically, they go their separate ways, and Mac then goes and finds his younger self at his, I believe it's his house, with his uncle and his brothers, and he just basically goes into a depression. Then I believe he goes into I want to say it's his parents' house, correct? I
believe so.
Yeah, he kind of goes into his parents' house, and he just, from that point until our main point in the story, we just see him. His beard gets fuller. He kind of gains a little bit of weight, but not really. He's just drinking beer left and right. He's working on these makeshift put together cars, and he's just getting drunk almost every night. And Deke is actually coming by every single time, and knocking on the door and saying like, "Hey, we got to get back together. You got to come to this place," and blah blah blah. And Mac just shrugs him off and says basically no. Then we see that Deke slips him a sheet of paper under the doorway, and it says, "Hey, come to my bar, or the bar, drinks on me." And that obviously triggers Mac to say, "Oh, drinks, I'll go to the bar, sure." So he goes to the bar, and that's when things started getting really interesting. What did you think about that whole scene?
I could not stop laughing. I was like, what in the hell is this? And then Deke pulling his best Marty McFly.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God. Like, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because that's definitely his character, basically, at this point. With him being all over the place. Like, it didn't surprise me when that scene came up on my TV screen, but I was just sitting there like, what the hell is he doing? But it all comes down to his character, and I'm just like, I understand, but it was stupid. But I enjoyed it, so I can't lie and say that I didn't enjoy it.
It's funny too, because Mac walks up to the bar and he's like, "I'm here to see a friend, Deke," and then he was like, "Oh," and the bartender was like, "Oh, you're here for the show. Well, he's about to perform." And then Mac like slowly looks at the stage, and then here comes Deke coming out, and his it's on the top of my head, but what song was he singing?
Don't you forget about me.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the song, but I was like, that's
Breakfast
from
Club.
The Breakfast Club, yeah.
Yeah, and he's basically singing. Now we got to remember, The Breakfast Club and that song didn't come out until like 4 years?
85, maybe.
Yeah, I want to say it was 3 years after.
3 years after. So Deke is basically inventing this song, as we've seen him, in the past, we've seen him, become the CEO of his own business, but he's taking futuristic ideas and putting them into the past. So technically, I mean, honestly, if I'm being completely honest right now, it's kind of a genius idea. He's from the future. Nobody's going to believe him that he's from the future, now he's going to use all of his futuristic ideas and make them into, gadgets and inventions nowadays. It's very genius for him, but the character himself is not very genius. And he tells Deke tells Mac that he's a part of a cover band, where he, does hit songs and he goes around. But, obviously Mac is like, what are you doing? Like, you're so dumb, blah, blah, blah. Why are you doing this? This is why you're not a part of the team and all this other stuff. It just kind of just keeps him nailing at him. And that's when Deke is like, no, this is a real cover band. We're actually, agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Mac's like, what? Like, he just kind of gets this look on his face. And he's like, what do you mean, a cover band? And so we meet the covert ops, I guess you can call them, from the team. And that would be Tommy and Ronnie Chang, a.k.a. the Chang Gang, which is an hilarious, if you know wrestling, John Cena, the Chang Gang. That's what it immediately brought to my mind. Then we have, hey, Dom, we're back on that, butchering the name, Olga Pachinko.
The Russian chick, that's why I keep saying.
He's a demolitions expert, and with a thick Southern or Russian accent, pardon me, and also Cricket, who I believe Cricket is the drummer of the episode. Yeah. But so we meet them, and it's a very ragtag kind of weird group. Like you wouldn't think of their their team as agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Who was your favorite out of the team, honestly?
Honestly, like I just couldn't. This just reeked of so much '80s that I just couldn't pick a favorite. Like Olga was cracking me up, because
she was my favorite for me.
Yeah, and especially for Deke, who I'm fully convinced. I'm going to throw a crazy theory out here. He might be Star Fox of this MCU universe. Because if you think about this, let me pitch this idea. We saw last year when he was going to be the fake Google head, and he had people just gravitating towards him. He's got like a weird power of persuasion. How he forms his own S.H.I.E.L.D. team, he's drawing everybody together. Like I think he's got like some kind of like persuasion power that we don't know about yet. Because like how he's pulling this stuff off left and right, I'm just astonished by.
Yeah, he has very much of that, like that visual of, he is going to, he's going to mess something up, but then all of a sudden it just goes his way. It's really weird. But unfortunately, Deke is not the only one making a team. Sybil, who is the predictor, as we saw in previous episodes, that was her name, Dom. When you asked me last episode, what was her name? Sybil. Not Sybil, or it's S-Y-B-I-L, Sybil. She is the leader of the Chronicoms, and she is basically building a team of her own by the help of this fat-looking nerd at the beginning of the episode. I don't really – he doesn't –
He served his purpose, I'll put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It absolutely served his purpose. And so, he created Sybil, and Sybil started creating other – hunters, as we've later find out.
Basically, they were robots in this episode.
You know who they looked like, honestly? Every time I saw this, they looked like Rob from Super Smash Brothers.
I was thinking they looked a little bit like Wall-E. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
from the movie.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about.
Like for me,
I'll
go. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, so if you guys haven't seen the episode, just envision like the robots that me and JT are talking about. Just envision either Rob from Smash Bros. Or Wall-E from Wall-E, basically.
Yeah. What were you saying, Ken?
Yeah, like for me, the minute I saw it, it just reminded me of the movie Short Circuit. If you've ever seen that, 80, and I'm like, oh my God, he's building an evil Johnny 5. And I'm like, where are we? It was just a cool Easter egg that to throw back, because like this whole episode was so 80s that they touched upon so many different angles with this.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? They've done that in these past, when they've gone back to the 70s, gone back to the 50s, whatever. They've done such a great job at taking what it would feel like to be in that time, like that timeline, and had put it into the episode, like the wardrobe that they have on, the music, the close-up, like I mentioned earlier, when there was a moment where Deke and Mac kind of like, shook hands or had like that little like like the grabbed hand,
Yeah.
it like just zoomed in on the handshake, and like the camera angles were up. Like it really looked like an 80s type, feel to it. But unfortunately, we lose a member of the covert, covert, yeah, that's the word. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We lose Cricket. Unfortunately, he tries to be a leader, and he's actually having a hookup session with I believe it's the backup singer. We don't know her name, or I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
But they're kind of hooking up, and then they hear a noise, and Cricket goes out to kind of go up to the robot, and the robot's funny. It's like, please help me, I am lost, I do not know where I'm going. And it's like from Cricket's standpoint, how do you believe that? Like, that would confuse me. I was like, I wouldn't have touched it, I wouldn't have gone up to it. But Cricket dies, and the lady, I think she also dies, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think she did.
Yeah, because that's where all the blood goes flying all over the place.
Right.
And it's like so over the top. Like, I could not stop crying laughing at this, because it was just like, oh my God, what is going on?
Exactly.
Right, because I know that's how the nerd died at first.
Yeah.
When Sybil, I think she like stabs him.
She has
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right, and then we just see like he was like making a facial expression. Then next thing we know, we see just like blood going everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So like immediately, my first reaction was just like, oh my God, like. I was like, okay, we really gonna go there. Like JT, that meme of that that I always use, that dude with that wig, and he's just always like,
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Now, this actually, the kind of noise and destruction that this hunter has been causing, Olga takes notice of it, and she gets very overwhelmed by the hunter, and she kind of gets damaged. I don't know if she gets. I know she didn't die, but I know she gets like her arm gets hurt, or she gets like knocked out or something.
Yeah.
But Deke and the and the chain gang, they basically think they're done for. It's over, it's done. And then to the rescue, of course, here comes Mac. And Mac, we saw earlier in the episode, Deke had been putting together his shotgun. What is
the
it?
shotgun axe?
The shotgun axe.
Yes.
Best weapon ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're putting that together. And so Deke is like, hey, you can go grab it. It's over there. And Mac does that exactly, and goes and grabs the shotgun axe and starts destroying, some of the hunters. And then basically they realize that the Zephyr, should be on its way to get them. And they're repairing I believe it says right here, they're repairing a 21-month hiatus from when they left, and then where we're at now.
Right.
So after all that, what we did not mention in this recap was Sybil was actually in the S.H.I.E.L.D. base with them, but she was not attacked, or she wasn't, kind of shown. No, I'm sorry. That is wrong. She was attacked. She was destroyed, but I believe one of her arms grabbed the what was it that she grabbed? That the arm grabbed? It was like the time, like
it was like, I don't want to say the flux capacitor, but it was the time battery there.
Yeah, exactly. But we can't forget this either, and this is where I want to kind of branch off from. We'll end this episode. What did y'all think about having Coulson on a TV that entire episode? Because when Deke takes Mac back from the bar, and he's talking to them about creating this team and such, and Mac's like, this is no team, this is dumb, blah blah blah. Deke was like, well, that's not what Coulson said, and Coulson basically, he goes and does some stuff, and then he hits the TV, and then Coulson's face pops up, and he just basically says that he's been reading time, or like technological jumps, and that's how he found out that Sybil is in this timeline working on something. So that is how they figured out that Sybil is still in there with them. But what are y'all thoughts on that? Did y'all like that, or was it like, to me, I'll start it off. It just seemed like there was a way to kind of say Coulson's not dead. It would have been. I think it would. I feel like it would have been a better story arc for Deke if he was the one to figure this out. Like, kind of build him up a little bit. But now that you see that Coulson has been there from day one, kind of, telling Deke what to do, it kind of lowers Deke's, character, in my opinion.
Well, like for me, I took it as an Easter egg for the Max Headroom character.
Okay.
That's a very old school 80s, like real obscure reference if you're not familiar with 80s pop culture. So I didn't mind, especially because how he blew up the episode prior.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew that Coulson was not going to get killed off that way, even though it would have been really more dramatic. But for him to come back and be the one guiding Deke there and the Deke Squad, or I forgot that's the name of the band, how perfect.
Yeah.
I think it made a lot of sense because I think if Deke had really taken a hold and really become a leader on that team, there really isn't his character. And I think for him, he just needs to play the lovable goofball that, comes up with like the, awkward moments because man out of time. But as I've said this entire season, he's really been doing actions that are really not typically his character. Like I said, about shooting Malik and almost killing the young Malik way back when on Daisy's orders.
Right.
So I think for him, it made perfect sense to still follow Coulson, and especially to explain how Coulson was still going to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have an issue with that.
Yeah, I'll have to go same with Ken here. Like, it made perfect sense for Coulson to appear in that little TV box, whatever. And you brought up a great point, saying that how it kind of gives like Deke a little bit of characterization. Just him, still being that lovable guy, but still having to be a leader in some capacity. But then he also has like Coulson, kind of like, guiding him through basically, kind of like a Professor X and Cyclops type of situation. He's kind of like field lead. Dick is kind of like the field leader who is Cyclops, and then have like Coulson is kind of like Professor X guiding him through basically. So that's how I view Coulson's return to episode 7.
Okay. Well, to end the episode and to end this portion, basically we see that the arm of Sybil takes the time jump battery thing to a younger Gideon Malik. So now now Gideon has this this device or whatever, and he now has a new partner in Sybil, which I told Dom this a couple episodes ago. I kind of like this tag team. I love the fact that Gideon is we know from kind of like the head of Hydra almost. Wilfred Malik, his father, was the kind of the starter, and then the starter of Hydra, and then Gideon kind of took it from there and kind of led it into what we have now. But Sybil is now the leader of the Chronicoms, and she is kind of showing Gideon what is going on. So do y'all like that partnership?
Well, for me, because isn't that Nathan or Nathaniel Malik actually?
Yeah, you're right. Pardon me, Nathaniel. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I do like it because due to the actions of S.H.I.E.L.D., you've now created your biggest threat.
Yep.
With Nathaniel Malik. And for Sybil, because the Chronicoms, for me, they didn't really, I don't know, that whole storyline was kind of just weird.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I didn't really connect. I was like, all right, I understand what you're trying to do here, but I don't know. It didn't feel like a S.H.I.E.L.D. story. So to see how they're going to get brought in with Hydra, I think it makes a lot of sense. And especially now, they have a villain that they don't have any backstory with. So it's really interesting the takes they can go with, and especially to have that kind of freedom with a character and really run with it, I think can only help them. So I'm loving the pairing, and especially it makes perfect sense because as we touched upon, the minute S.H.I.E.L.D. went back in time and did one thing wrong, everything got screwed up. Yeah, so I'm expecting more hiccups going down the road here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's a real interesting team up. I guess you could say I am looking forward to see what kind of mess that they're gonna come up with to kind of try to throw S.H.I.E.L.D. out for them going back into their own timeline. But I think it will be a pretty good team up between those two. So we'll just have to wait and see what they come up with.
Absolutely. So, Ken, what we usually do after each episode, Dom and I will give our ratings of the show. Now, for me, this this episode was very much after we saw Coulson blow up, after we saw all this happen in the recent episode. This one was very much of a, all right, let's calm down, kind of have some humor with it, sort of action-packed, but not really, as much as we would like. To me, I would give it a good 7 out of 10, honestly. It's just a lot kind of was needed to be answered, in my opinion, and we didn't really answer that. The ending did help it a lot, and the fact that the comedy was gold in this episode. So I would say a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you about that. For me, I loved it for the simple fact that you can really tell they're having fun this season.
Yes.
And this one was a perfect 80s homage. There's so many little Easter eggs throughout that just, you can definitely tell they were just enjoying this. I mean, especially when they had the montage, when Mac decided to shave his beard and get the shotgun axe, and they were just completely hamming it up. Mm-hmm. Just those little pieces of humor in there, I thought really helped the episode, because, I mean, how serious they've been going in. But I do like the seriousness of S.H.I.E.L.D. though. So because like for this one, this just felt like a Legends of Tomorrow episode, which I like and I don't, because when Legends is good, it's good, but it has drama, and then sometimes it just goes completely in a different direction, and they're just really trying to be over the top funny. Like for me, Legends is American Doctor Who, and like to see S.H.I.E.L.D. try that, I thought it was like, okay, it's good for one time, and I just want to see it once, but we don't need to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. But for what it was, I couldn't stop laughing from the over-the-top death scenes with the blood. That was just like what is going on here? It's just complete excess, which, I mean, that's the 80s completely. But I did like it that at least they finished on a good note with Malik now teaming up with Sybil, and where they're going to go with that, I'm really excited to see.
Absolutely. Dom?
I would be the same page as you guys, 7 out of 10. After watching that episode, I did kind of hate Mac for a little bit in that episode, just because of the way he treated D. Just because, he think he can't, do his own thing. Like, he can't be a leader. Everybody sees him as, the goofball that he is. But, D, as we see in the episode, just kind of steps up his game, saying, like, I can do this. There are some things I think that I can do, but I can actually do. So, just kind of like had a disdain for Mac in episode 7. But like you guys said, it was full of humor. I guess you could say it's kind of like a filler episode after all that stuff that we got in the past few episodes. So this is kind of like something, let's go somewhere light with this, for the next, couple or few episodes before we really try to pick it back up before the series actually ends. So it's a nice little filler that we got. 7 out of 10. So I'll give that. It's definitely not bad, but it's not like, oh my God, great.
Yeah.
So on to episode 8. The title of it is called After Before. Very okay.
Very after before.
Yeah.
After before, I guess. We learn at the beginning of the episode. Now, before we start, this episode is very much of a thriller filler, if I could put that in, if that makes sense.
Good analogy.
It's very much, it has a bunch of like thrilling events, but then it's also like, it's kind of just there to fill in what we need to be answered, I guess. We see a lot of flashbacks, as we'll get to here in a minute, which that's what this season's about. Give me all the flashbacks you can take. Take me back to 19 whatever and tell me what happens then in Marvel timeline, and that's what the season's supposed to be about. So what we learn at the beginning of this episode is actually that the battery, or the time jump battery, is starting to mess up, and it is taking them basically like almost months in advance. We were used to like 5-year jumps and then like 3-year jumps. You can tell that it's starting to deteriorate the Zephyr, and it's starting to shorten up. And so if we, as we learned, once it completely messes up and the battery kind of dies out, then the team is basically, screwed. So we're seeing that the Zephyr is starting to jump. I mean, constantly. It's just jumping, months and months ahead. And the team is like, well, the only way we need to do this is if we need to take the battery out of the time jump. And so that they were like, how are we going to do that? Anything that we touch, it's basically going to, destroy us. So then they realize, oh, Yo-Yo, you can go super fast. You can go and in between the, the coils or the, the recoils or whatever, you can grab it and take it out. And she was like, yeah, let me try it. Oh, wait, I can't because I have a Shrike in me. And at least we think that's why she can't. So they're basically, kind of discussing what to do. And they're jumping literally every other scene. They're jumping months in advance. And then we realize that Daisy wakes up from her little coma that she's been in, or, hibernation. And we realize that she says that her mother, Jiaying, pardon me, is still alive in this time. She hasn't been killed by Whitehall yet. So she's still alive, and she was like, if anything, she's going to know more about Inhumans than anybody. How about y'all go, see her at her home? And so, Coulson was like, Coulson is actually now starting to become an LMD again. He's getting built, and it's funny. He makes like a little reference to where he has no legs, and he was like, oh, hey guys, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, nothing. And he's like, oh yeah, because I'm not finished, developing yet, or something like that.
Building,
yeah. And so he's like, well, May, you're the only one who knows about what is her Jiaying's home called? Isn't it the Afterlife?
Yes.
The Afterlife.
Yes.
Okay. So, Coulson and Mac are like, you're the only ones who know about the afterlife. How about you go with Yo-Yo and see what's going on? And so that's what they do. They go, and when they land, Yo-Yo and this very much is the episode where we get to see a backstory and a kind of combination of May and Yo-Yo, which a lot of people have been asking for. They've really wanted to see these two kind of come together and be this tag team, which I like. I mean, personally, I like the tag team of them when Yo-Yo can use her powers. Without it, honestly, I don't know what she's doing much besides just kind of being there. I hope I'm not like hurting anyone's feelings by saying that, but
no, I wouldn't say so, because the one thing about her is that she was brought in because she had powers.
Right.
And now that she has it, and prior to this, they really didn't explain like what the issue was, because like I thought that she had a Shrike inside her still.
Right.
And
that's why I was asking too.
Yeah. So because to get the reveal we did, I thought was kind of a letdown, to be honest with you.
I did too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I think it was. I will say that it was kind of expected, because when I was watching it, watching the episode, I was like, it's probably not going to be, Strike related, why she can't use her powers. It's going to be something from her memory that's not going to make her use her powers. So I just kind of like guessed it like right off the bat, and then just watching it, I like found out I was possibly right. So I just knew it was kind of, going to be something, memory traumatic related, basically, instead of, what we actually saw this past season or last season when we saw we saw a guy infected.
Yeah. So then the Zephyr or the Z1 or whatever, it lands at the afterlife, and they're being very like sneaky about going about it, but not really. They're kind of just walking, and like it's like, oh, no one's gonna see us, and then all of a sudden, what happens? We see a new character, Cora. She is introduced, and we learn that later on, we learn that Cora's powers are, she basically has, in my opinion, it's kind of like Havoc from the X-Men, where she kind of has this, I can't think of the word, but it's like, electrical charge in her almost. And we see that Gordo comes back, and as we all remember, Gordo is the mutant who's blind, but he can teleport anywhere. So he comes back, and we see he's younger, and we see another character from the Inhumans. I don't remember his name, but the Asian one that gets hit.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't
remember his name. But we see him and Gordo chasing after Cora, and they basically we don't know why. We haven't learned why, but what we do learn is that Jiaying is there. And she's kind of thrown off when Yo-Yo and May are there. And, Yo-Yo's like, hey, we know that you are an inhuman and we know that you can help us. Can you do that? And she's like, how do you know? She's like, this part was really funny to me though, when she was like, we need to learn how you are an inhuman. And they open up the thing to a Terrigen crystal. And, and then he goes, if you were an inhuman, you will touch it. And then she just grabs it and she goes, it's a fake. And then she puts it up against her face, and then it works. No, well, she's talking about her arm, because remember her arm's,
right.
And so she takes it and she's like, my arms are prosthetic. And then she puts it up at her face and it starts glowing. So then Jiaying's like, oh, you are an inhuman. Yeah, we'll help you. And then her and her, sidekick, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but
I know it's not, it's not Gorgon. It's like a real simple name too.
Yeah, exactly. But
right, let me see if I can find it right quick.
All right, you go ahead and do that. And what we're gonna say is he is very much afraid of having Mei and Yo-Yo in their dungeon or their dojo. And Jiaying's like, no, she's an inhuman. We have to help our own kind. So we see, as we remember last time we saw Jiaying, she was very much kind of an evil threat almost.
Yeah.
She's very much of a controlling figure. But now she's very caring, and she's very much, we need to help. We got to help. This is, we are one of the same. We need to help. And so she goes and she does acupuncture to Yo-Yo, and she says, why does this help? What is this going to do? I have something inside me. What is this going to do? And she's like, we just have to take more samples and more blood and blah, blah, blah. She's going very much, like her herbs and spices kind of, way of dealing with things. And then she realizes, she says, it's not what's in you, it's what's wrong. Like, it's not the strike that's doing this to you. What it is it's your past, it's your repressed memories that you're having. Something in you is causing you to not go fast, basically, not speed up. And she's like, well, that's weird, because I don't have any, nothing's coming to mind. And so she's like, Jiaying looks over at Mei and says, you can feel feelings, which, how did she know that? That's what how did she know that? Did I miss something there? Or did she just catch that?
She just caught that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cause I was very confused at that part. I was like, how did she know that Mei can feel feelings? Like, how did she, I don't get that. So they do some funny kind of like, all right, we're going to sit down together. We're going to put our hands on our knees together. We're going to do this. And Yo-Yo and Mei.
Meditate.
What?
I said, we're going to meditate.
Exactly. So they almost do that. And then both Mei and Yo-Yo are like, no, screw this. We're not doing this. This is dumb. So they go sparring. And every time that, Mei hits Yo-Yo, I think there was one scene where she hits her in the stomach, and then all of a sudden it flashes back to when she was younger, or it continually goes back until she was younger. Then we find out the reason is because a thief is at her uncle's house where she is staying at with her brother and her cousin, I think, and basically we see that Yo-Yo and her cousin are in this closet, and the robber's like, what do you have? And her uncle's like, I don't have anything. Go away, blah, blah, blah. And she said, ooh, what's this? It's a necklace. And he puts it down on the counter, and he's still searching for stuff. Well, Yo-Yo gets out of the closet, grabs it, and then goes back. And I guess that's the name, how she got Yo-Yo. I mean, I know Mac gave it to her, back a few seasons ago when we first introduced her. But, I can see where they're like, no, this is where she got it from. But she kind of, again, like a yo-yo. She goes in, goes back out. And that's what we've been seeing her do for the past several seasons is we see her go to one place and then come right back, just kind of bounce back and forth. Not like the speedsters we know, like Quicksilver or the Flash or anything like that, where they continuously can go from one place to one place to one place. Yo-Yo bounces back and forth. So there's the difference, y'all. So she steals it, and then her uncle dies because the robber notices that the necklace is gone. Did y'all like that scene? I thought it was very forced. I thought it was like you said, Ken, it was very much of I just don't think it was necessary.
Yeah, I don't know. The more I was thinking about it, I'm guessing that maybe they're rewriting some of the characters' past because they've been going back in time. I don't know how they necessarily would connect that to Yo-Yo growing up, and this is like something new, and now she has a mental block. Yeah, like I said, it just felt forced. It was like for the buildup of how she hasn't had her powers this season, like suddenly we get an origin story per se. Like it just kind of felt like, well, we need something to fill in here. Oh yeah, we'll just rewrite this in and just drag it out because it literally could have been summed up in about 10 minutes.
Exactly. And it almost sounded like to me that it was kind of like, oh, we don't really know much about Yo-Yo or her backstory. Let's kind of introduce this backstory in a short, heartfelt little montage of when she was younger. And then it's like, oh, but why? But if that's the issue, then like, why the strike? Like, why, if you knew going into it that the strike was going to infect her and be inside of her, why not? I would love to see that continue because she still has it in her, right? Or am I wrong?
I thought
won't say she does, but maybe
I can't remember.
Maybe off camera, they probably got it out of her or something like that. But I want to say it's probably still inside of her. I'm not sure.
If I'm not mistaken, they did get it out of her at the end of the last season. Like it was, but it was quick. It was like for all the buildup that it was in her and killing her. It was like all of a sudden, like somebody did something. I can't remember if it was like Simmons, like somehow, like injected something in and popped it out, or it was something like real, like oh, that was all that was.
Yeah. Well,
but I thought
Simmons.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say. Speaking of Simmons, we see that she has left a very heartfelt voice recording to Fitz, kind of just explaining what is going on and why all these things are happening. Which again, like we discussed before the episode we started, Fitz is going to have to come back at some point. If they don't bring him back at the very end, then there's not really. I mean, for her to go through and put the robot or the Darla, is that's the robot's name that's in her, right? Darla, or that's the. It's. I think so.
I believe so.
Well, then if Fitz is not going to come back or we're not going to see him, then there's no point of having that put inside Simmons to forget where he's at. That's, we have to see some kind of build up to that. So she leaves this heartfelt thing. And then of course, Deke is right there and says, Nana, it's going to be okay, which throws me off again. I don't like the Nana thing. Stop calling her Nana.
Well, that's his grandma. Let him call her Nana.
They're the same age.
I mean, it's like you and me. I'll call you Grandpa, so.
Okay, well, that's for a different reason. But basically, we see all this happening, and after May realizes why Yo-Yo's not, using her powers, we hear this big explosion, and we see that, they run to the dojo, and we realize that Korra has escaped, and that's when we learn that I think this is the beginning of when Jiaying's starting to fix Inhumans for, I don't want to say her own good, but almost to not get rid of, it's very hard to describe, but she's basically saying that Korra cannot control her powers, and she's a threat to the world, and therefore we have to do something about it. When that's not the case, as we see later on, but I don't know. I did. What are y'all's thoughts on Korra, the character herself?
I don't have strong feelings about her because we only, just seen like maybe like 5 minutes of her in total. So I don't have like strong feelings for her, but yeah, I think with just Jiaying, or if I said that wrong, but
correctly, good job.
But I think she was just trying to look out, the best for her, because like we seen in the episode, like she doesn't have, as much control of her powers, and we can see that she can be a threat to people on this earth. Yeah, just no strong or no feelings about her right now. I'm pretty sure we'll probably see her, maybe in the next episode or two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's just kind of like my 2 cents on her. Just no feelings yet. No feelings yet.
Okay.
For me, I don't know. I guess I don't want to jump ahead too much in the episode, but for who she's revealed to be, I have like an opinion of who I think that her and Nathaniel Malick are.
Mhm.
And if you know the Avengers Hydra villains Fenris, I think that's going to be their version of it.
Okay, yeah. Because I know I watched The Gifted
Mhm.
when it was on, so we had like they gave us their version of the Fenris twins, but we also like got to see like the actual Fenris twins in the flashback. But now that you said that, though their powers are kind of similar to the Fenris twins in the comic books,
Yeah.
except I think it's kind of like gender reverse. So yeah, now that you said that, that's interesting right there. That's an interesting theory that you came up with.
Yeah, because like I sat there the entire episode and I was like, okay, this is going to be a throwaway character. We're not going to see this one again. And then when they do the big reveal of who she is, and I'm going, okay, well, and I know like I don't want to jump ahead too much, but once they did the reveal, I'm like, okay, if they're going to tie her in with Malik, there's got to be some kind of connection to like some villains because I can't see them doing a super powered Hydra at this point. I mean, maybe, but I'm also just trying to think, okay, what makes the most sense involving Shield and Hydra? And I was like, would they be a version of Fenris? And like you touched upon, Dom, with the Gifted, they did their own version. So I don't know if they wanted to borrow a little bit, but then again, all bets are off this season. So
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But like you just mentioned, Cora does escape, and she runs off into the kind of woodland area that's in the afterlife. And she is actually trying to kill herself. She has a gun, and she kind of puts it up to her, about to kill herself, and all of a sudden the gun just kind of gets taken apart. And then we turn around, and it is Nathaniel Malick. And Nathaniel, of course, as we all remember, now has Quake's powers. And so there you go. He is now, and I guess, a scientifically put together inhuman almost. He does.
Yeah, he's a how can I put it? He's like
Hybrid inhuman.
an inhuman hybrid. I was gonna say like a human mutate or an inhuman mutate since he kind of like experiment on himself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we could use those terms right there.
Exactly. So once they escape, May and Yo-Yo kind of confront Jiaying, and he's saying like, "What's going on? Why are you doing this?" Blah blah blah. And that's when we realize that she's doing this for the the good of her own people, and how Cora cannot control her powers or whatnot. And so as we were talking and as they're discussing, Nathaniel and Cora kind of walk up, and they're like, "Oh, blah blah blah," and then they kind of tie up everyone, keep everyone hostage and stuff. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the sidekick, or before they get all tied up, the sidekick of Jiaying, who we cannot remember the name of, he kind of attacks Cora, and Cora unleashes their power and kind of pops him in the face and burns his face, kind of not off, but like where it's severely scarred. And they tie everyone up, and I'm blanking on the way that they escape all that. I know Gordo grabs Jiaying, May, and Yo-Yo and takes them back to Z1, but I cannot remember like how they tied them all up. Does any of you, do y'all remember?
Did they? I don't think they showed it, did they?
I think it was just they were tied up. Like I think it.
Yeah,
just,
they didn't show them like actually tying them up. We just see them tied up.
Mm-hmm. And while all this is happening on the actual Zephyr, again, it's Enoch and Deke and Sousa. They're all working on the batter, or like the spark plugs and stuff for the time jump machine, and nothing is working. Nothing is everything. It's just continually jumping and jumping and jumping. And basically what happens is, I believe it is Simmons gives Sousa a prosthetic leg, if I'm not mistaken. And he's like, "What is this?" And she's like, "Prosthetics have come a long way since the 50s." And so it's really cool to see that he's now, because I know the actor himself is probably like, "I hate using this cane. I hate having this limp." Like throughout all these episodes. Now it's cool to see that he can actually, start walking on his own. But Ken, you know what? Since you were so nice enough to join us, I'm gonna let you tell us and the audience how did this episode end?
So this episode ended with Malik and Cora teaming up at the end and basically saying, well, we're going to go find the agents and just basically take over the world. So it was kind of, he corrupted Cora, who has already been alienated. And I apologize if this was already mentioned because the internet actually cut out here for a couple minutes here during our call. But when Cora was revealed to be Jiaying's daughter and Daisy's sister, this is now adding a new drama that I don't think was in there, and this is, I think, another cause that the agents have now caused. So now that you have the supervillain team up, and the team has now jumped in time because Yo-Yo finally got her powers back, but she couldn't stop the time drive from going unstable. So now they've jumped out, but we don't know where they're winding up. And then by the time they catch up with Malik, Sybil, because she's still lurking about because she's helping Malik, and now Cora, the agents are going to be really behind the 8 ball now.
Exactly. Yeah, I found it funny that this whole episode was Yo-Yo going to find her powers to fix the time drive, and then she does it because she realized that she doesn't need to recoil. I don't know how she just doesn't do. I don't know, but that's for another discussion. But she jumps to the coil, grabs the battery out of it, then doesn't jump back to Max. She just kind of stops, and the battery dies, and she's like, we did it. Yeah, we did it. And Max like, good job. Yay. And while all this is going on, we see Daisy get back into the cocoon that she's been in, and the Coulson kind of deactivate to reboot or something, whatever he's doing. LMDs do nowadays. He does that, and Sousa goes over there and like pats his leg because he knows he has the new prosthetic on. And while all this is happening, the time, the drive turns back on and kicks back on, and they jump to another time zone. And I don't know where they're going to go from now. We are now down to the last 2 episodes, so things are going to have to be heated up on this one. But yeah, again, we'll go on thoughts. Dom, I'll let you start off with this one. What are your thoughts on this episode and your ranking?
I would give this a 8 out of 10. My favorite thing from this episode was definitely May and Yo-Yo's relationship. Like you said, everybody has been asking, them for like a team up ever since Yo-Yo was kind of introduced in the series. So it was definitely great, to see those two together have their own little episode. And then, of course, getting to see a little bit of Yo-Yo's backstory. I know we all said it doesn't, they didn't have to put that in there in order for her to have her powers back. But I am happy that we finally get to see her use her powers, but we only get to see like a few more times this season because we only get 10 episodes this season. But yeah, I just thought this episode, wasn't too much of a filler. It definitely serves to the story going forward. Definitely, it was nice getting to see some of the Inhumans again because last time we saw storyline involved with them was season 5, I believe. So it was nice to see the Inhumans come back to the forefront for this episode. Yeah, it was just, overall was a good episode. Like I said, 8 out of 10. And I could tell, just by going forward, like you said, JT, they really have to, up it up with these final 2 episodes that we have.
Ken?
Well, for me, I think they're going to 13 episodes. I think they're taking a break after number 10.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So they're not going to be jumping right ahead. If I'm not mistaken, they're going 13.
Thank you. Thank
Let
you.
me double check.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, I'm almost gonna say I'm 95% sure. But that being said, this episode I was gonna give it a 7. To be honest with you, like this was, as you touched on, it was a thriller filler. Didn't really move the needle per se. Like I said, I thought they drug out the story with Yo-Yo a lot. Everything else going on with this episode, I thought was good though, because I mean, it depends on how you feel about Jiaying and the whole Inhuman storyline there. But I do like that they introduced a new character, and you saw how Malik is slowly forming his team, and we actually were having this debate on Twitter because I was live tweeting that night.
Mhm.
What did you think of Malik's outfit?
To me, it gave me kind of like a Nick Fury when we first were introduced to him type feel. You know, when in Iron Man, when he kind of turns around, he's like, "You're not the only superhero," or whatever. He has that black cape
Right.
on, and I don't know. You know, Fitz and Simmons made the tech for Daisy for her bones, because you remember her bones kind of like they break when she quakes and stuff. So they
Right.
made these artificial gloves and stuff, but he's just wearing it looks like some just cut off, snow gloves with the fingertips cut off. And I mean, obviously it's better looking than that, but
Yeah.
I mean, if it's anything more high tech than that, I wish they would have shown that. But like, it just kind of looks like a generic evil, outlook, all black with the black cape, and him just kind of being who he is, really.
Yeah.
Right. And Ken, going back to what you were saying, it is 13 episodes, so you were exactly right on that. Going back to Malik's outfit, I actually, liked it. I'm a big fan of like coats and jackets on superheroes and supervillains. I'm all for, coat and jacket look. So I thought his costume was pretty nice in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely did too. I was having a lot of people hit me up with Matrix memes that night.
Okay.
Everybody thought he looked like Neo. I'm like, no, he's definitely not Neo in this.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a good introduction. Like, we're getting a little further. I'm almost wondering if he's wearing Sybil on him somewhere, like as a belt or maybe like as an armband. So
I probably so. I would guess so. Just to have him like be a guide to him.
That is a good. Oh man, that's good, because now that I think about it, I don't know how. I mean, Sybil was a robot in the last episode, and now
Right.
I mean, when she blew up with Coulson, they both became like, I guess, software, and pretty much. And Sybil made the hunters as robots. Obviously, we talked about that, and then Coulson we see is now being upgraded to a real life LMD, but we don't know anything about what Sybil's doing. That's really good. I do think, now that you said that, she has to be somewhere on him, attached to him, or just kind of leading him, almost like a puppet. She's the puppet master, and he's kind of like the puppet, and she's just kind of saying, hey, go do this. What's really interesting to me about Sybil, and I'll leave it to this, is she literally can go and tell him what's gonna happen. Now fix it.
mm,
And that's how that's how he found Whitehall. That's how he got Whitehall's information about Inhumans. That's how he knew where Jiaying's afterlife realm was, or whatever. And I mean, that's really interesting. I like that.
yeah, because if memory serves me, he was wearing something metal around his leg. Like, I was trying to say it was like a gun holster, but I don't think it was.
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe because Sybil had to be with him somewhere to guide him.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's making his protocol of like, okay, we're going to take over the world and whatever they're going to do to the rest of the afterlife. Because if they wipe that out now in the 80s, and by the time the S.H.I.E.L.D. team develops there, that's going to definitely do some retcon damage in theory to the future timeline. Because now if they're jumping ahead, they're still going to be in the 80s for the next episode, I believe. But I'm waiting till they get to the 90s, and I'm wondering if we're going to have a Captain Marvel tie-in somewhere.
I was just looking that up.
JT. Well, let me get that out the way. We're not going to see Brie Larson because that'll be a lot of money out of the TV's pocket. So let me just go ahead and get that out the way.
You never know, though. I mean,
yeah, that is true. That is true.
Hey, they got Samuel L. Jackson in the first episode. I know that's the first episode, but they got him.
Yeah, that was like first season. They're not trying to connect with the Marvel movies, so don't get your hopes up. But like you said, they always throw surprises at us.
You might see like a poster on the wall or something.
It would be interesting if they. I mean, there's a lot of. We're kind of going off topic a little bit, but there's a lot of talks of if you watch Captain Marvel as many times as I had, you would know that there is a extra scroll that's been left off. Hey, you never know. They could kind of talk about that. Probably not, but that'd be really cool if they did. Maybe they add a scroll to Malik's team along with Korra, Malik.
Ooh, I like that.
And a scroll who can now shapeshift into anyone. So that'd be dope.
Maybe that's how we get Secret Wars.
Ooh, I hope.
Yes. But Ken, what is your thoughts and your rankings?
Thoughts on this? 7 out of 10. I mean, like I said, it was a solid episode. Once you got past the yo-yo intro, because like I said, that drug out so long.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else's story made sense. I mean, for Coulson getting the Windows update and still like being out of action, but yet still being there for Daisy, and you saw that connection still. That it definitely had its moments. Sousa getting his leg, which, I mean, that made perfect sense. And eventually now with Malik now getting some motivation, we're kind of getting an idea of what he's doing. Because now if he's rounding up Inhumans, he's now building an army.
Yes.
That S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be vastly outnumbered for. So I'm not saying we're not going to see Deathlock appear or Ghost Rider, but I think that maybe we'll have a little version of Endgame for the season finale, and I think that's where S.H.I.E.L.D. is now going to start picking up members throughout the history of the show. But where Grant Ward winds up, that's the question.
Going off of what you just said about adding members, I would have lost it, and I would have loved it, lost it, if Jiaying would have joined the team. And because, at this point, I believe Jiaying she doesn't know about Daisy. Is that correct?
Yes.
She does?
She doesn't know about Daisy.
That would have been perfect. Jiaying joins the team with Gordo, and then Daisy's like freaking out because, oh my God, you have my mom who is dead. Again, that goes back to the whole parent dying situation that we've seen in the last 3 episodes. That's very an underlying story that's being told, with Deke about him talking about his parents. Mac, obviously we see in episode 7 about him going off this, binge of, drinking and stuff, his family dying. This would be a nice introduction of Jiaying, or it would have been a nice introduction of Jiaying joining the team, Daisy kind of freaking out and having this mental freak out of, I remember last time what you did. Are you that same person? But unfortunately, Gordo then really didn't make sense because Gordo jumped Yo-Yo and May to the Z1 and then completely jumped back to go back to the afterlife. So you never know. But on my end, I thought, again, the Yo-Yo story was I feel like it was pressured. I feel like it was very much of we need a story arc and a background for Yo-Yo because not a lot of people know it. We need another, kind of team up. We've seen Deke and Mac. We've seen, Coulson and May a little bit. We've seen Deke and Simmons have their little heartfelt thing. Sousa and Daisy. All right, let's throw Yo-Yo and May together and let's have them have like a little history. So I give it a 7.5 out of 10, only because it did serve its ending. It had a really good ending. But overall, I thought these 2 episodes were very good. It's definitely died down since what was it, Dom? 3 and 4 was it, or
5 and 6?
I can't remember when the episode was really, really good. I think it was the one with Sousa when they faked Sousa's death. That was episode
4, I think.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was your favorites. My favorites was 5 and 6.
Yes. So 3 and 4.
No Project Insight.
Yeah. Well, yeah. 3 and 4 were my favorite with Sousa and everything, and then Dom's was 5 and 6. So again, big shout out to you, Ken, for joining us. Again, for everyone who is listening, y'all can please go follow Ken and the rest of their group at ODP or OD Parlay Hour on Twitter. That again is OD Parlay Hour at Twitter. Again, man, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say?
No, thank you for having me. This was a blast. I love talking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We've been covering the show as well. So, I mean, definitely I've been checking you guys out on YouTube. So this has been a blast to do. And like JT said, if you want to interact with us, we live tweet every S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. So please jump in at OD Parlay Hour on Twitter. or just go to ochoduroparlayhour.com. That is everything that is the ODPH. Or if you just want to hear the regular shows, go to any podcast provider, type in ODPH, we pop right up.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
Know what, I wish we could join you, when you guys have your live tweet of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but like that's unfortunately the night that we record our regular episodes.
Yep.
But JT, I'm gonna say this right now. When it comes to the series finale, hey, we might have to take a break. We might have to take a little break.
Hey, look. If somehow Darren, Josh, or Christian are watching the end of this, y'all might have to just.
We might have to call that day off because we need a break.
Hey, we would finish our recordings around like 11.
Like 11 o'clock at night, and
And
we'll start like right at 9 or somewhere around there. So we start like right when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is coming on.
Oh man.
So and it was interesting because during the episode or whatever, we had guests on this past episode, and shout out to Cruise and Clout, and we had them on, and the entire time I was trying not to get on Twitter because I knew I would see something, and I was like, okay, as soon as the episode ended, we ended our Zoom call, we did all of our stuff we needed to do, and then I jumped straight to the TV and I pressed play and I started watching it. And again, I rewatched it because of course I was tired, and my thoughts and everything were just not where it should be. And so I was like, all right, let me just watch this again. So, but yeah, a huge thank you, Ken, for joining us.
Yes,
absolutely.
Thank you. I hope you can come back once we do our series finale video. I think we'll probably love to have you back on.
Absolutely.
I'd love to do it. So yeah, let's make it happen.
Absolutely. You know what I'm thinking actually for our season finale, what we need to do is we need to get just a bunch of people who
watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Who watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just kind of, and kind of have one large Zoom meeting just to kind of
right.
talk about it.
Hey, so if you're watching this video and if you love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if you want to join our conversation, we're putting it out there right now. Join us for the series finale, and we will discuss all things Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., not just the series finale, but we can talk everything Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So come on down.
Yeah, let me see if I can holler at Padawan Jay, because I know he's a big Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. He was tied up tonight. And we have one of our great listeners. His name is Dre. Actually, I met him at New York Comic Con last year. And we can all get into this live tweet, the three of us, during every episode. Like, Dre is a huge S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. So, yeah, let me see. Maybe we can make something happen with that.
Now, before we end, I do need to ask the question, and I need this to be confirmed.
Okay.
You said you got retweeted by the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
3 times.
Dude, how did you do that? You were just tweeting about it?
I just literally, in my entire lifetime, I've gotten tweeted by him 4 times. And the first time was during the Captain America 2 episode. Mm-hmm. My phone was vibrating for about 3 hours straight. I could not even I couldn't tweet. I threw it down. I had to go find a laptop. Mm-hmm. So that being said, yeah, I just literally I was typing out, I was like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., let's go. And then literally I get a notification, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. goes, Dre hits me up and he goes, dude, you just got live tweeted. I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden I'm looking and it's like, retweet, and just my phone is going crazy. I'm like, so here I am trying to take notes on my phone. I'm like, all right, this ain't gonna happen. So I set it down. And then like commercial break, I retweet something else. I'm like, strong episode tonight. Retweet it again. Mm-hmm. It was just like the simplest ones, because the one time I put out something and I wasn't sure if it was them or maybe it was a fake account. Like somebody hit me up, they're like, could you please not give spoilers out for the West Coast? And I'm like, okay.
Okay, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, my bad. Like, so I just put out pretty basic ones. And sure enough, they did 3. So I was like, I was expecting you like immediately after. I'm like, yeah, my notes for today's Zoom is going to be absolutely awful because I couldn't type anything.
Hey,
I was going to say too. I think the actress that plays Yo-Yo, Natalia. I want to say her last name is Cordova.
Cordova Buckley, I think.
Yeah. So she actually liked my tweets a couple of times when I was tweeting about her character. I think it was like when she first came on. So I was like, I'm loving Yo-Yo as a new member of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think she'll be a great addition to the series. I can't remember exactly what the tweet that she liked, but I think it was something like, I would think I was talking about that, but I was like, hey, I got noticed by one of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Cast members, so that has to go down in my book someday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, again, guys, we appreciate y'all watching. And again, if you're a huge Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, like all three of us, comment down below and let us know what your thoughts on these past two episodes were. Again, that is episodes 7 and 8. And we will be back with episodes 9 and 10 about 2 weeks now. So join us then. And for all of us, we say thank you, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.